Hello everyone, I hope you are doing well. So today I am going to show you how we can install n8n, this tool, on the local machine. So there are several people asking what n8n is. Quite simply, it is an open source tool that allows us to automate tasks within the company. That means if you are an entrepreneur, if you are a freelancer and you want to automate a production, this is the tool today that is highly sought after on the internet. But to use this tool and have your workflows, you simply needed to host it. And when we talk about online hosting, to have your tool operational, you will need to pay money to the host. Today, if I go to the official n8n website, the hosting price is expensive. That means today you would have to pay approximately $24 per month. And also you will be limited to a very restricted number of workflows. So what is the solution? I can suggest hosting the tool directly on localhost, meaning on your machine, while also having a URL, like this one in HTTPS, which allows you to connect to all the nodes within your system. So here, in this training, I will show you step by step with even course support that you can simply download it from this URL. You will simply copy this URL into your browser or find this direct URL in the description. You will click and it will take you directly to all the steps that I will mention in the training. So I thank you very much and enjoy watching so that you can install n8n on your local machine. Well then, now we are going to work on installing n8n on the machine in localhost, which means on your computer at home. So how are we going to do it? We will do it in 2 steps. First step, we will install it like this in localhost mode. This one works, but it actually lacks the HTTPS protocol to be able to use and manipulate the nodes, like Instagram, like the WhatsApp node, like the nodes of Google products, in fact. Also, from Telegram, there are several nodes. When you reconnect them with localhost, they will not accept because for them it is not secure. So as a result, they need of what? They need somewhere that your workflow, when it connects, will need to have HTTPS here. And for that, I will do a second part in the installation where I will show you how you can get HTTPS here with what we call a free subdomain. And thanks to that domain, even when you work on localhost on your machine, on your computer, every time you make external connections, n8n will appear with HTTP. This is a very important step. So we will start with the 2 parts. The part with our localhost and a part to obtain the domain name. Of course, we will refer to this documentation that I will show you step by step so that you can, of course, replicate and reproduce the installation that I will now do with you. Let's go. The first thing to do is we need to install Docker. So of course, there are several types of installations, but the one I will show you now is the simplest and the one that is most documented today on the internet. So we are going to use Docker. You can simply download it here on your computer and then, of course, it will ask you what kind of machine you are using. For me, I use a Mac, so I will choose the Mac option. Even within the Mac, it asks me what type of processor I have. Apple, so I will choose that one. If you are working on Windows, as you can see, you will find the Windows versions and you will even find the Linux versions. So it's a simple installation. The Mac version is 475 MB, so you just need to install it. I will receive a file on my computer and then I will install it by double-clicking and following the installation instructions. So it's a simple installation on a local machine. Once Docker is installed, you will see here it will first ask me to run it. And I can enter this command in my browser, or rather in my terminal, to ensure that Docker is properly installed on my machine. Of course, before anything else, I start Docker. It's very important to launch the application. There, it is starting up. Once I have it alone, because it's open, I will simply go back to the terminal. Here, I will actually paste this command. Which version of Docker is this one? In fact, there you go. It tells me, attention, you have version 28, which is well installed on your machine. So as a result, we have completed the first step, which is the most important one, the installation step. Now, the following steps are quite simple. we will actually need to create what we call an image and to create what we call containers. So these two pieces of information, when I enter here, of course, they are empty. So as a result, I will simply install n8n inside this software, which is Docker. Now, the second step is very simple. In fact, we will need to create a file called Docker, dockercompose.yml. So how do we do it? It's simple. First, it's very important to actually create a folder. I chose the desktop. Here is my computer. So on my desktop, I created a folder called n8n. So here, if you like, we will install all the files, information, and data related to n8n. So I created the folder, and inside it, I simply write a file with the YML extension. So you create a .txt file. Then you will rename it and change the txt to YML. And what are we going to put inside this file? Quite simply, you will copy and paste. Actually, this code here from my file, I'll explain it to you if you like. So here, in this code, it will actually launch certain information, certain commands. The first command is to create the image, then the container, and then it will provide the port information. And you will see that. These are the environment information that we will later modify. And here it writes what we call the volume. The volume, it is important because this is where we will install the files of our workflow. In any case, this file here. You simply need to copy and then create the file in question, and you will see how. On my PC, I created the file and did a copy-paste of that information. So as a result, I have a file with that data on my computer. Afterwards, what do I need to do? I need to, let's say, execute this file, meaning run it in the terminal to launch these commands inside. So as a result, I will simply copy this, but be careful. First of all, I need to position myself in the path of this file. So that's important. So how to do it? It's simple. Look, here I am in the terminal. I will type the command cd. It allows you to enter a folder, okay? And then once I do that, you'll see. I will actually hold this folder here. Look here, I hold it like this with my mouse and I will put it here. Okay, so to avoid writing the entire path, simply. And then I press enter. So you'll see that now my computer is pointing to this folder, and now all that's left to do. I will actually copy this line of code here and we will place it here. So what will this line do? This line, in fact, will execute the information inside this file. So I press enter and there you go. It's now doing what's necessary to download all the important files to run n8n. So generally, it's an operation that takes between 3 and 4 minutes, so you let it run. It all depends, of course, on the internet connection you are using. If you have a good connection, it will go very, very quickly. Because each time it downloads, it checks for updates and installs them. So at this point, I have to wait for everything to switch to download complete mode, so that the system, of course, ensures that the files are installed. As it progresses, of course, I can look at the folder. You will see that here, inside the folder, it is still empty because I will need to run other commands to continue the installation. So now I will let it finish at 100% so that I can move on to the next command. Now, the installation has just been completed. When you see it there, it has already even launched the container. So there it is. There it is in mode, so active. By the way, if I go to Docker, you will see that here at the container level. So now I have a container that is completely active here. There you go. So it is operational. If I go to the image, the same thing at the image level, I have the image here that has been created, of course, Docker. In fact, it has downloaded all the files that are necessary with n8n. So what am I going to do now? I will obviously try to move on to the next step, which is to access my server. So if you copy this URL into your browser, you will find yourself, of course, in your n8.1 interface. And of course, if it's the first time you're doing it, it will ask you to create a login at Modpass. So you create your login at Modpass and it will send you, of course, a free license by email that you will copy. So that's completely normal when launching n8n locally. So now, of course, I have n8n installed, but be careful, we are still in localhost mode. I can work with it, but if I call upon some nodes, I might encounter difficulties because there are 10 nodes that do not accept localhost, which require being in the HTTPS. So generally, if you are 18 years old, you will create fairly standard, simple nodes, and you won't use tools or nodes that require HTTPS. Up to this point, the work is fine. You can click here to create your workflow and start your work. But if you want a much more advanced configuration, you obviously need to move on to the next step. So the next step is simply the second part. Here we will use something called a grok. What is a grok? It's a website there. So this is the access to the site. This site, in fact, will allow us to have online support, and that too. It's free, so you just need to create your account here. So there you will click on Synapse for the first time and thus have access to your account. So the account is simply this interface here, and therefore we need to actually download. We click here in the passages in the Tipasho download a file. This one, of course, I must choose, in fact, my platform. Because of that, I am on the Mac. But if you are on Windows, you will click here and select Windows Linux. So there you are free to choose your operating system. So for me, it's Mac. So simply I click here to download the file. You will see when I download a file, I will receive a file that is zipped like this. So what I will do, of course, I need to decompress it because I need to retrieve the file. So there you use WinZip or WinRAR, it depends, to get a file. And the file, when I decompress it, I will simply place it in a folder. You create a folder of your choice. I write, there you go, a grok, and I place this file there. So it's the file we just downloaded. So this is a very important step that will simply allow me to retrieve, of course, the steps. They are well explained. Here is the access to the site, and you will obviously need to decompress the file to be able to do the work that we will see later, step by step. And so the work will continue on Docker desktop. So here I will go to containers, and this is very important. And you will find here that there is actually an active container. So it's simply the old container on localhost. We will delete it and install a new container using ngrok. How to do it? First, I stop it, okay? So I stop it, as you can see, I select here and then I delete it. So I will no longer need containers. And thus the proof is that here I no longer have containers. It's a normal fact. Now the localhost will no longer work. So as a result, when I click on the image, you will see that the image is operational. But in this image, of course, here I need to press run for it to work. But at the same time, when I click on run, a new container will be created. How to do it? It's simple. I click here. Be careful, it will ask me if I have options to add. Well, yes, we have options. We have practically 4 mandatory options. We will add them here. So here we will fill it with 4 variables. In these 4 variables, I will show you step by step what you need to put. So we will start by giving a name to our container. Well, listen here in the documentation. You will go directly to 2, and you will simply give a name to this container. So I can simply do a little copy there, but after the name, in fact, you can change it and give a name that interests you. In any case, here I take a name that is in the documentation. So I copy that. I go back to Docker, I give a name to my container. Then here I need to move on to a port. So the port, in fact, is the internal port. And you will see that here it's the port of n8n, but here it's an internal port. So I can suggest a port, for example, 4555555. But afterwards you can put 6666. You are free, it's optional. And so here I need to fill in the information at the volume level and the information at the path level. So if I look in the documentation, you will see here, in fact, it's very, very important to point to the folder that exists on your computer that we created for n8n. So if I come back here, if I click there on path, I will select that file there, so there, I click on open. So therefore, this is where my installation will be, and there the counter meal. I will set the default counter, which this one you will simply copy and paste. In fact, this file there, when you find it here, it's the default one. I can change it, but I prefer to leave the one that by default of n8n1. Then there we will need to fill in 4 variables, which are these 4 variables there. So therefore, how are we going to copy paste them? It's simple. You will copy this. And of course, you will not put equal. You do not take the equal. You will stop here. After the value, it's true. So there we will do the same thing. I will paste this variable there and there. The value I will set to true. The second variable is actually this one. This one we will copy like this. So here I copy the URL. And I come back here. There I will do copy, paste. And there the value. Actually from the URL we will put http:// There you go, like this, you will write it like this. And now I actually need to retrieve the path here, this URL, from this line. So I go back to my setup here. So here I am on the ngrok dashboard. And you will see right here, I actually switch to static domain OK because by default you are here. So here, I don't want it to stay on localhost. So I click on static domain and there you will actually retrieve this URL. Of course, at the beginning you will find a small button there. It tells you to actually create the URL. You say yes, and then I will copy the URL. So I copy the URL up to here to app OK. This entire line, be careful. That's why there is no HTTPS protocol. That's why I added it manually. So here I copy that. I go back to Docker. It's important, and I will paste it. It's done. Next, we will move on to the next step. Here, it's the webhook, which is very important. So here I will copy it and I will paste it. If as a variable, then at the value level, it's the same, actually one of your website. So here I will simply do a copy. There you go. We will copy it. We see that we control. It's controlling. So there with all the information. Last goes the variable. If that one, so here I will copy the same thing. So I will paste it, and there I will do, in fact, the system hub. So there we just copied it. So I did the exact configuration and my system is now operational. I click on run to start this new container. As you will see there, it will then log and provide me with, in fact, the complete connection with this domain name. So it's true that if I click to execute this URL, it won't open. This is completely normal because we will actually need to do a second part where I will make a configuration. There you go. Add a few lines so that the configuration is 100% complete. So now we will open our terminal, and of course I will simultaneously return here to the setup and installation. You will see that here, in fact, if I go back to home, you will see that it actually offered me 3 command lines. The first, the second, and the third. And you will see that in the second one, in fact, there is a token. So what's very, very interesting is that everyone will have their own token. So then I will first start by installing, let's say, ngrok to proceed with the installation. So first, I copy this. Be careful. I go back here to my terminal. Preferably, we can either close this. Look, I close it and I will open a new terminal. So now we will open it. It will be better to avoid using code lines to go back and locate the folder. So you do the same thing. Here, I open a new terminal. I type cd, and now we will do it. Be careful, the same thing. Remember here, I downloaded ngrok and placed it in this folder. So now I will position myself in this folder. I press enter. So now I am inside. And so now you remember those commands. We will try to execute them here. So now we will paste and I install, in fact, the ngrok. So now it will generally take, let's say, 4 to 5 minutes. So don't worry. If it stays like this, let it work. It will start. For me, the installation is already done. So I have completed the installation, so it won't take long to load. But for you, if it's the first time you're doing it, it takes 4 to 5 minutes. Don't worry if it keeps loading. It's in the process of installing. So I continue now here. I will move on to the second line, which is this one. Actually, we will copy it. And then, of course, we will try to execute this command. So I will open my terminal, I will paste it, I will press enter. So you will see here, actually it recognized this command if you haven't done the installation. At first it won't recognize it, but here it does recognize it. It has copied, in fact, the configuration, so everything is fine. So then what's left? You will see that here I have a last line, so I will copy it as it is. But be careful, instead of 80, we will put 55555, so the new port that we used. If you have changed the port, for example, here you will not use 5555, you use 6666. Then you use your new port. So this is a simple installation. So here I will paste, and here I will do a delete. We will delete that and we will put, there you go. And I enter. So what happened, of course, is that the configuration has just been launched. All that's left to do is try to visit this website. So you see there, this site here, if I copy it like this, there you go. So we will try to open a new window. Well, not rather it's this one. There you go. We will copy that and open a new window to test it. So it's currently loading. And indeed, so here we simply have, in fact, now I'm not sure if you can see the URL. So here I have the URL of my system. There you go, that's it. And so what am I going to do? I'm simply going to try to create an account here with a login and a password, quite simply, and click on next. So there, the installation went well. Of course, here I'm just going to add a test email address that I created just for this training. And I tell it, okay, send me a free license to this email address. You'll see, when I write here, it will send me an email. So let's try to check that together. There, it tells me that it has sent it to that email address. Let's open the email inbox. And there you go, I simply have the license. So the license, be careful, you need to put it on your own email account because this one is actually a test. If ever, in fact, you try to retrieve it, you won't be able to anymore. And the use of this key is only once. That means when I copy it, if I go back here, let's go, we'll put it into activation. So I'm going to go there. I'm going to tell it, yes, I want to add. And so there, I click on paste. And you will see that there, in fact, if I activate it, this message will disappear. Look, so there, I will paste and activate. It will tell me, there you go, already there, it just sent me a message. It sent me the message the first time, but it's a one-time use. If you click twice, it won't activate it a second time. So, as a result, the message just disappeared. And there, it tells me, there you go, your system is well registered. And there you have it, so you simply had the opportunity to install on localhost and by actually using an external URL, the n8n, without taking anything. Of course, as we explained, there will be limitations. There will be those who choose to go for the pre-installed server online. And there, you have a system that is very powerful because this one, even if I am on an external domain name, that doesn't prevent the fact that if I actually shut down the computer and no longer use my machine, it's completely normal. The workflow will no longer function. That's normal because this URL is just a bridge that allows me to connect securely with the nodes. So, if you want to have a complete training with n8n to get started here, to create your workflow from A to Z, this is a training especially made for either entrepreneurs who want to create their workflow for their business, to obviously commercialize it, or to resell the workflow, or for people who really want to learn to work in this field. I have created several workflows that are at an expert level, advanced, in-depth. To access these trainings, I will show you right away how you can download them with all the workflows available on n8n to go from a beginner to an expert level. So if you want more details on n8n and learn to create your workflow independently and become an expert in it, I invite you to check out my course today, n8n on the internet, on the Udemy site. You will see that today it is the best-selling course on that platform. And I constantly update this workflow to always add new workshops. So this is a course that currently contains, up to the time of recording this video, 6 hours, where you will find several workshops. You can even see there, I have left you free workshops so that you can actually see them. And even today, the course is on promotion. There you go, it's available for $9. So for my entire community on Udemy and even on YouTube, I leave you the link in the description to actually access this complete course. If you really want to go very, very far with n8n automation, I say thank you very much and see you soon.